Hi, good day. My name is Alphinity. I'm the Client Portfolio Manager at Alphinity Investment Management. Today I have Andrei Marinenko with me. He's one of our analysts in the domestic team, and today we will be talking around AI disruption risk and the framework that Andrei has created for us to assess the risk across the stocks that we cover. So Andrei, as a starting point, tell us, how did you actually put the framework together?
Well, as we've been looking at AI disruption and the frameworks that exist in the market and assessments that exist in the market, the frameworks that I came across would share several shortcomings. One is they would be very top-down. So people would try to put companies into buckets, say this is a system of record, this is UI only, and then say, well, these are all bad and these are all good. Our framework approaches it bottom-up and tries to understand the actual mechanism of disruption for the particular stock. As with everything we do, we are bottom-up stock pickers ultimately.
Yeah.
Then secondly, the second shortcoming, which was common to those frameworks, is they would treat disruption as one-dimensional. They would assume there is only one vector of disruption. For example, wipe code in alternative software. Well, in reality, there are many vectors of disruption, and our framework actually wants to be quite exhaustive in looking at those potential vectors of disruption. The third limitation of a lot of those frameworks was the timeline. So a lot of them were based on, would hedge their bets by saying like, oh, in the next year or two, or oh, at the current capability levels. But that's irrelevant. Stocks are priced as discounted cash flows decades into the future. So where nobody is debating that software is dead today, the question is really what happens over the long term to kind of long-term earnings power. Yes. Yeah. I guess to the same point, I think a lot of those assessments also were trying to answer the wrong and lazier question, the question that actually matters. Yeah. They were trying to answer a binary question of, is software dead or is software alive? Yes. While the relevant question to investors is the earnings power of the particular company increased in an AI world relative to what it would have been without AI, or decreased, and by how much? And how does that compare to what's priced into the consensus and into the share price?
So how did you address those shortcomings in your framework?
Well, the framework that we have developed is seeking to actually look at the mechanism of disruption, and we look at it in three broad buckets. We start with substitution, and the first question we ask is, let's imagine a super intelligent LLM is here, like your Mythos 10 or whatever it is.
Yes.
Can it do much of what your software does today? And if the answer is yes, well, that's kind of game over for that particular company. If the answer is no, then the question is, okay, why not? What are the bits and pieces that it misses? What are the barriers to entry that prevents it from substituting you? Yeah. And that could be specific regulation. It could be kind of deep vertical know-how. It could be some unique data that you have. It could be some network effects and unique connections that you have, and so forth. So if there are those things which an LLM cannot do, then the next question becomes, who has those missing pieces? Do a lot of your competitors have them? In which case, this will get competitive, right? Like whatever productivity AI produces will be competed away as consumer surplus. Yeah. Or do only you have those missing pieces? Well, great, then you have a monopoly-like business, and you will be able to actually benefit from AI, extract additional value, and your shareholders will capture it, which is what we want. Yes. And of course, many companies would be somewhere in between. Sometimes it could be your customers who have those missing pieces. In which case you will ask, well, what incentive and capability do they have to build their own products or their own services which will replace you? So that's where we start in the substitution bucket. The second bucket is demand. So there we ask the question, well, first, whatever your customers are selling, is it still needed in an AI world? Yeah. And if no, then well, maybe there's no market for your service because your customers are gone. If your customers are still needed, then the question is, will their services be heavily, or products be heavily automated? And if that's the case, then there are many important questions. One is, could you be the one to actually automate them, in which case maybe you can capture some of that value.
Yeah.
Second, how much demand elasticity is there for the services of your clients? Because if there is a lot of elasticity, then maybe even if prices deflate, volumes make up for it, and you still are serving a big industry with a lot of revenue.
Yeah.
So that's on the demand side. And then final lens we take is more of an empirical execution lens. So for companies that are somewhere in the middle or do face some AI disruption risk, we want to track some objective indicators to see how they are doing in that AI world. For example, are they making actually revenue from AI products? How fast is it growing? Do they have the best AI product in their industry? Are they using AI internally? Not just like, yes, everybody's using AI internally, but is it showing up in their revenue per employee, and is their revenue per employee outpacing their competitors? So those are the types of indicators that can tell us how they are actually doing on the execution side.
So let's bring this to life a bit. So you have looked at a whole range of different companies and assessed them using your framework. One that you thought were the least exposed of the stocks that you looked at were Technology One, and then on the other hand, companies like a Seek probably more exposed. So let's bring this to life and talk us through why do you think those two sit at the opposite ends of the spectrum here?
Yeah, absolutely. So Technology One is a great example of a company that is very resilient to AI risks and actually well positioned to benefit from them. So if we relate it back to the framework, we start with substitution. I mean, LLM won't be able to do what Technology One product does, because what it does is a lot of interconnected systems and deterministic workflows and structured databases operating within a heavily regulated environment for governments and local governments, universities, and so forth. So that's just, I mean, LLM isn't going to be managing the payroll of your employees or storing all the data in deterministic ways. Then in terms of, I guess if we continue on that substitution side, so who has these missing pieces? In reality, is not too many people. Technology One has a limited set of competitors who have been lagging well behind Technology One on execution, both before AI and in AI specifically. And your customers, of course, your councils and federal government departments and universities and TAFEs, they do know their workflows, but they have limited incentive to develop their own software because most of them don't have a profit motive. But what they do is they are risk averse. In Australia, for example, local government CEO is liable personally for decisions they make in their role. So their risk appetite to expose the personal data of their ratepayers into a software they might code it is probably limited. And their technical capability is also limited. They don't have large development teams and so forth. So they don't have either the incentives or the capabilities really to build those products themselves. So then on demand side, I mean, governments aren't going anywhere. That's just the nature of things. AI probably is not going to change that. And their services, while there will be some automation, this is probably one of those industries, again, for the same reason of lacking incentive or profit motive, is probably will be some of the slowest and least effective in actually harnessing the productivity benefits of AI and automation. And to the degree that they will have AI and automation, a lot of it will probably come from Technology One. So they have a closed ecosystem where to maintain their very high security certifications, they actually don't allow any data to leave their software into their competitors' software. They have APIs which can take data in from other software, but they don't actually allow it to come out. So that, of course, increases that defensibility and means that gives them a big competitive advantage in providing the AI agent that then connects to all of the parts of their ERP and can actually execute tasks for their customers. So they say, we are our customers' AI strategy. I think that's probably fair. Their Plus product has seen a very strong interest so far from customers. And then on the execution side, as I just said, they actually have an AI product. I played with it at one of their demonstration days. It actually can do real tasks for you. It actually can pull a lot of useful data for you. And customers who understand this much better than I do actually are lining up to pay for this product. So I think we can see that at least among Australian listed companies, Technology One is definitely a leader in that AI execution.
So rather than being disrupted, AI is actually adding to the business model and revenue potentials.
That's right. So their usage-based revenue will be a growth driver over the next several years. There are already signs of that. So for them, it's a perfect example where their earnings power will actually be bigger in the AI world than it would have been otherwise.
And then on the other side of the spectrum, let's talk around a company like Seek. Just shortly, why do you think they are more exposed?
Well, there are a few reasons. So if you think about the core use case of actually matching people and jobs, if you ask an LLM to find you candidates, if you pair it with a capable scraper, it can do that today. So the inventory that Seek has, it is not ultimately unique. A lot of it companies post on their websites, or they would post it on LinkedIn as well, or on other platforms. So that a lot of that data is available. So while I don't think ChatGPT replaces Seek entirely, you could see that a lot of the workflow that they have created can actually get replaced. When you think about those missing pieces, yes, they have the database of jobs, but as I said, that is available on the company's websites and so forth. And they do have a database of people who applied for jobs, but it's not particularly valuable because it ages very quickly. People, unlike on LinkedIn, people don't have an incentive to update it, so that's not particularly valuable as data. So those modes are quite limited. So that's on your substitution side. And then as we go into a demand side, well, there are many debates about whether there is an apocalypse for jobs coming or not, but it's definitely a risk. I don't know the answer. I don't think anybody really does at this point, but you could definitely see a scenario where there are dislocations in job market, and probably the largest we have seen for a long time. It's quite possible that a lot of new jobs will be created eventually, but they don't have to be created at the same time, right? So you could have a reduction in volume demand for what they actually do, and then the process of how people will apply and search for jobs probably changes as well, because ultimately, Seek is a jobs board, ultimately, but the ultimate use case, what employers need is they want to fill a vacancy. They are not looking to go on a job board and look at ads and scroll through it. If there is an AI that can, instead of giving me okay, this is 200 vacancies to scroll through, here are the 3 candidates which are actually most qualified, go ahead and interview them. That's probably a better outcome for many hiring managers, especially for the type of employers who often use Seek, which is a bit your blue collar labor and so forth. You're not highest white collar labor, where maybe the processes are a bit more rigorous. So you could also see the disruption in the actual workflow as well. And on the execution side, I don't think we have seen any groundbreaking AI products from them as well.
So a bit more work for them to do to convince investors they don't have a huge AI disruption risk. So thank you, Andre, and thank you for listening. We have published a note on Andre's AI disruption risk framework and a bit more detail behind that. So please have a look on our website at alphinity.com.au. Thank you.